The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome to the final race of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP season. Traditionally, the finale of VGP is at Suzuka, and this year is no different. My name is Justin Sutton, and joining me today, it is, of course, Chris Buxton.
What has been a fantastic season draws to a close in the beautiful Japanese circuit of Suzuka. And it never fails to give us some amazing action. The champion crown of Lucas Buxton still has a lot of fighting behind it. Look at that, Stefano Podstata arguing over second in the championship. Suzuka and David Buxton also arguing for fourth, and as always battling all the way through the field with a few changes for this one event as well. A few stand-ins for this particular event, but we will go over those when we see them. So amazing stuff. Very much looking forward to seeing who is going to come out on top at this very, very testing and trying circuit in these beautiful single-seaters. ERT at the top of the tree, of course. Entropic are doing their best to keep them honest, but I mean, it's been a Prachada show for a long time in the team championship, but behind them, ESET, Carvago, Mecha All Force Sim, and Lenovo Legion really fighting hard for the next positions. So this is how the track looks. Partly cloudy, 23 degrees in the air, 35 on the track. Absolutely perfect conditions for the competitors to take to the grid. It's Podstarter ahead of Prachada, the LPs resuming their battle of old up front. Then David Buxton right behind. Martin Stefanko still with the fire in his belly to fight to the end. Katlacik, Siritek, the Entropic pair take on row 3. Adam Pilo and Lubomir Moritz on row 4. Then it's Stupnika and Thomas Horror on row 5. Miroslav Svoboda and Peter Hermok on row 6. Nadlik and Alexander row 7. Stepanovsky and Kaska on row 8. And we've got Mocek at the tail end of the field, standing in for Jan Brunner at Navitel.
Only 17 cars for today's race due to some absences and some people not being able to make it, but we still have plenty of action, lots of racing here at Suzuka for the final time in 2022. Very excited about this race, and from pole position, it is going to be Lucas Podstata in the Carvago, quickest in qualifying by over a tenth of a second, and it looks like a good start for him and both of the Pachata brothers as well. That's Martin Stefanko, though, going on the attack, looking for third. He's up the inside into turn 1, but around the outside, David Pachata goes. Can he hang on? It becomes the inside line for the next left-hander. If he could just about hang on there, he does indeed, but Stefanko goes around the outside there, gets that move done, moves himself up into 3rd position, and that's Adam Pilo already making moves. He's into 12th positions. No, I'm sorry, he's actually lost positions. Adam Pilo started from 7th. Stepanovsky, though, is going to be losing lots of positions. He's in the wall. He's lost his rear wing. That's going to be a significant amount of repair time, possibly the end of his race.
When is he ever going to get a break, as Olga Stepanovsky has been with the series for such a long time? It's such a shame that his race has come to a literal crashing halt so early on. But look at the fighting through the field. This is what we love to see time and again in VGP. No one ever gives up on any position, whether it's first or last. We have some amazing battles. We see Nadlik then, whoa, getting the inside line forcefully, but fairly coming into speed. Nicely done.
Wow, that is some impressive maneuvering there from Nadlik. He moves up into 11th position with that. Up ahead of him, Svoboda using the push-to-pass, as is Hermach, Moritz, Sirotek, David Pichata, Pilo, Hora. Lots of push-to-pass being deployed here. And Nadlik coming under attack from behind Adam Pilo, who was one of those drivers deploying that push-to-pass as they went through 130R for the first time. And again coming under attack from the outside twice back-to-back through those corners. In the background there, that's the big shock of Thomas Hora going on the offensive, using the push-to-pass coming out of the final corner. In the background there, in the big shock, you can see him jockeying for position as well. Up at the front, though, Lucas Pichata applying that pressure to the back of Lucas Podstata in the Carvalho car, who has maintained that pole position lead from the start of this race. It was a good, clean start for him. It was a good, clean start for everyone in the top three, but Stefanko just had that little bit better start, and that's what got him ahead of David Pichata.
Very, very true. It was a good start from both Pichata brothers. Lucas doesn't need to do anything. He doesn't really need to be here. He's already crowned champion. He cannot be overthrown, but he is still pressing on. He's got the company of Martin Stefanko all over his tail. Up there in second position, riding on board now with Kadlecic in the lead of the two Entropic cars, with David Pichata, who started in fifth, now up to fourth position, losing touch a little bit with Martin Stefanko. So David Pichata hasn't quite had the pace to match his brother, but he is showing some really good pace in this early stage of this particular race, with the second Entropic of Sirotek right behind from where we're currently seeing.
A bit surprising to see Entropic so far down. I know it seems a bit funny to say that, but 5th and 6th, I would say, is far down for Entropic this season. They've been incredibly good qualifiers. Up ahead, David Pichata, the next car up the road from Kadlecic here, using that push-to-pass. It looks like more to close the gap to Stefanko rather than to actually go on the offensive or for an overtake, though. Just trying to just keep up to the back of that ESET car if he can. But yeah, 5th and 6th, not the best qualifying for the Entropic cars. We've definitely seen better from them, especially because Kadlecic won the race last time out, so he's riding that high. But here we go with Hermach going on the offensive. He moved to the right quite early there. It seemed like he carried a lot more speed through that final corner compared to Moritz in the second ESET car, who is running quite well in 7th position today. But Hermach does seem that little bit quicker. So it seems that he's going to be positioning for an overtake here. Having a look at Svoboda, who's right on the back of Pilo. Svoboda started in 11th position, down 1 position from where he started, but still in the points. Of course, the top 15 all scoring points. So, oh, and who is that moving slowly? That's Nadlik moving slowly. Did he pick up a penalty there as Pilo moves up into 10th?
Not certain on that one. Seems to be back up to speed again, but oh, a bit of a side-by-side there. Moritz a little bit hesitant coming out of the hairpin, but does just about keep 7th to himself from Peter Hermach. Then it is Studnicka in the big shot car right behind Adam Pito, trying to make a move. Lots of side-by-side now as we come into Spoon. Once again, the big shot car having to hold the inside line to keep hold of that 9th position as Peter Hermach gets a bit of a wiggle on the exit of Spoon. And then side-by-side as well, the big shot car in the back of the shot with Adam Pito in the Mecha All-Force team car. Look at this! Peter Hermach manages to get the move done just in time to sweep through 130R. Nicely done.
Moritz really seems to be struggling at the moment. Pretty significant gap. It's about 3 seconds to the next car up the road. And there goes another car. Adam Pilo up the inside into the Casio triangle. Lovely move. Squeezes past as well. He saw Hermach go for the overtake, and he said, I'm going to fancy some of that, and went through as well. And I think Studnicka is looking to do the same. He's going to move to the inside on the run down towards turn 1 with the use of some push-to-pass. Meanwhile, up at the front, though, the battle for 4th position starting to heat up a little bit as David Pichata has started to slip back from the top 3, comes under attack from Kadlecic, who gets the move done into the left-hander there. Very nicely done. And he's being followed very closely by Sirotek, who's definitely going to try and make that overtake on David Pichata as quickly as he can. He wants to try and keep up to the back of his teammate as much as he possibly can, especially with Kadlecic picking up that win last time out, and possibly being contentious for lead driver in the Entropic team, which could have a ripple effect into the 2023 season.
Yeah, absolutely so. But before we have a think about next season, I'm just looking at the tyre allocations for this time. A lot of people going for the soft tyres this time around, which has been a little bit unusual in this season. Generally, people have started on the hards, and the softs have been the the kind of the contra strategy, the alternate, so to speak. But most people going soft to start with. The contra strategy did Martin Stefanko no favours last time out.
No.
At Long Beach, but he gave it a try when he still was mathematically in the title hunt. But that rather put paid to that particular effort. Top three then, just coming through the shop. Pod starter, Lucas Brajada and Stefanko, three titans of this season, really ready to do battle with one another. Now Lucas Brajada has shaken off the advances of Stefanko and is challenging for the lead once more.
This is an incredible trio of drivers that we've got. Podstada, Pichata, and Stefanko all duking it out. And Kadlicek could definitely get involved as well. I think he may have been held up ever so slightly by David Pichata. It's difficult to overtake here at Suzuka. It's not the easiest circuit to make an overtake work. The VGP drivers always get creative and always manage to find a way to get through eventually, but you definitely have to find your way through. Which is part of the reason it produces such great finales, and one of the reasons it's a staple of every single VGP season, going back to the days of when we were on Assetto Corsa. But now we're on iRacing, and it's great to see the tradition of Suzuka continuing on with the finale and providing some fantastic racing. And it's great to see as well. We're so far into the race, 13 minutes into the race already, and the gap's just 12 seconds down to Mocek in 16th position. And again, Mocek filling in. And speaking of filling in as well, I did want to just briefly touch on the drivers that we have absent today. Eric Vizzi unable to make it due to an illness. He was also quite busy recently, finishing 5th in the Sim Racing World Championship on Assetto Corsa. Speaking even more about Assetto Corsa, so yeah, great to see that he was able to get that 5th position in Monaco with the Sim Racing World Championship. But yeah, we definitely miss him, and we wish he was here. Jan Bruna as well couldn't make it, and Pavel Maracek couldn't make it either. And Shembera either. So we've had a couple of people fill in, for those drivers that could be filled in for whenever possible, but that is the explanation for the slightly reduced grid for the finale.
But the racing is no more diluted as a result of it, as we ride on board with our soon-to-be crowned champion chasing the soon-to-be dethroned champion. Lucas Machado chasing Lucas Podstarter. It's not been a brilliant title defense for the Carvago ace, or the now Carvago ace. He was with Entropic when he took the title. He was with Entropic for the first part of this season, changed over to Carvago, which gave him kind of a bit of a new lease of life, we felt. Now, what happened? This is what happened to Oldrich Stepanovsky in the beginning part of the race in the Puma car. Oh, he just caught. That's interesting. So he just caught that inside apex a little bit too hard, as he then just pitched him over to the right-hand side, and it was enough to unsettle the car, and round he went into the wall with quite a bit of it missing. And we won't be seeing that Puma back on circuit.
No, that's a heavy impact, and yeah, really unfortunate for Stepanovsky, who, as you said, has really become one of the most veteran drivers of the league. I still remember when he was brand new, but Lucas Pichata now coming very, very close to the back of that Carvago car. Podstada not really going defensive, but sort of going defensive, and in fact using a bit of push to pass on the start-finish straight, so feeling the need to try and keep that ERT car behind. Stefanko lurking in the distance as well too, but it's interesting that Podstada really seems keen to maintain that position. He wants to hold on to that first place, and this is again one of the easier tracks where you can do it. There's just a couple of main overtaking locations. As long as Podstada doesn't have any major mistakes through the Degners into turn 10, for example, that sort of stuff, as long as he doesn't have any sort of mistakes in those areas, he should be okay. But Podstada, we've seen now deploying some push to pass when Pichata hasn't. We'll keep an eye on the left-hand side. For those that are new, keep an eye on the left, and you can see how much push to pass they have remaining. Every once in a while, that will come up on the screen. This is Thomas Hora. He was going up the inside on the second ESET car, and then was looking to go around the outside. And was there contact between them I'm not so sure, but he comes back on circuit rather dangerously. Does manage to keep going, though, rather impressively. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that track rejoin, but he didn't lose very much time, I'll say that much.
Yeah, that's less than ideal is a way to describe that rejoin. No, I didn't see any contact there either. I think he just ran out of space. It's very, very hard to make a move at Suzuka at the best of times, but coming through the S's, that early part just before Dunlop, is nigh on impossible to make a move stick there. It's so difficult to keep these cars settled through the turns as it is, let alone going side by side with anybody. As we now look at the top three once again, Lucas Pichata having a look, but not really in a position to challenge Lucas Podstata, and the leader knows it as well. He's wanting to just add to his win tally. He wants to see the season out on a high. You can't blame him for that. As we said earlier, the Drivers' Championship is sewn up. That cannot be refuted. That belongs very much to Lucas Pichata for ERT Racing, who's had an absolutely stellar season, and he's been so close so many times in recent years. So in a way, I'm quite pleased for Lucas Pichata that he has managed to secure the championship. No disrespect meant to Lucas Podstata or Martin Stefanko, who all pushed him right to the final, or what will be the final checker flag here in Suzuka. No disrespect to them at all. Big fan of all the racing we've seen, but I am a bit of a sucker for an underdog story. You know, Lucas Pichata, he's been so close so many times. It's nice that he's finally taken the title away.
No, yeah, I agree completely. He's such a talented and consistent driver from season to season as well, and in fact has grown. And it's been, quite a pleasure to watch him grow as a driver, and his brother, David Pichata. But yeah, we've mentioned before, just in the last season or two, Lucas just does seem to have taken that extra step. I don't know if it comes down to just extra time to practice. We know, you and I both know as commentators firsthand, just how important, the amount of time that you can put in practice, just how much of an impact that can have. And also just how you get on with whatever the current tire model is, for example. And that is a change of position for the lead. Lucas Pichata using some push to pass. So he used some push to pass there. Podstata did not defend with push to pass that time. And this is kind of more what I expected. So that's why I was surprised earlier when I saw Podstata defending with push to pass. I thought we were going to see more drivers overtaking with push to pass, the driver leading, just letting them go through, and then maybe a bit of a back and forth and that sort of thing, because they definitely don't want to be going side by side, because Suzuka is one of those tracks where going side by side tends to lose you even more time than it does at other circuits. And you kind of touched on this earlier, Chris, through the S section. It is wide enough to accommodate two cars, but just due to the angle and the severity of the change from left to right and so on, there really is just one line through there. It looks like a two-lane road to people that haven't really raced it, but those that are looking at the actual racing line, we know there's only room for one car through there. Here, and this is that overtake. And was it a small mistake through the Casio triangle that gave Lucas Pichata the option? And that is probably why Podstata didn't use the push to pass, because he knew the position was lost, even if he used the push to pass there. So let him go through, save the push to pass. He may have lost the battle, but the war is not over.
Oh, very much not. Yeah, huge kick of oversteer from the Cavago car. Just set that one up, and again, the rear tyres just not very happy. Stefanko coming in first. Could even be the first. I think that is the first scheduled pit stop we've seen so far. So the EZ Ace is coming in to get rid of those starting soft tyres. Possibly a bit earlier than was initially planned, but he's getting out of that particular traffic. There is Martin Neidlich for the Novo Legion, having a look on the inside line on Studnicka on in the big shot car. Can't get the move done this time around as they continue to chase the second Cavago car, Peter Hermock. They themselves coming through the S's, so you can see in the background is Lubomir Moritz and the second ESET car riding on board now with Martin Neidlich, and this is part of the challenge of this circuit. He's just staying with somebody else, because you lose the downforce obviously in the dirty air. This is a quite downforce dependent circuit. There's so many corners of medium and low speed corners where you would utilize those downforces. When you lose them, the car gets really, really loose, and you'll chew through the tyres quite nastily here in Suzuka. So this is a challenging circuit on so many levels.
Nadlik was, I think he was actually on the brakes coming into turn 10 there, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he was decelerating quite significantly for that little kink before the hairpin. But through Spoon he goes, experiencing some of that dirty air effect coming off of the big shot car of Studnicka up ahead of him. But now he's picking up that slipstream effect on the run down towards 130R, and then he'll be really feeling that lack of downforce through a high-speed corner like that, as you're touching 280 kilometers per hour, and then puts Sadas into the pits. Lucas Pachada continues on, and I love this, Chris. We are seeing the top three pitting on 3 different laps, and that is definitely going to make things very interesting. Now, Stefanko did come into the pits for a set of hard tires, which I thought with a pit stop that early that potentially he might still have fuel in the car, and that he's looking to kind of undercut and go on to another set of softs. And is it going to be a set of hards for Potsdata? It is, and he's definitely going to lose that position to Stefanko. He's carrying way too much speed. And the other thing is, Stefanko's tires are up to temperature, which is way more important on the hards than it is on the softs. Those softs will get up to temperature through that S section one time. The hards are going to be a little bit more picky.
Yeah, they're going to need a bit more working to get up to their optimal temperature. As we see Mocek in the Navatel car, as he's kind of been parachuted in, standing in for Jan Brunner. It's, I mean, what a baptism by fire. These cars we've seen bite so many times. We've seen them bite the experienced drivers, and you're being parachuted into a difficult car at a difficult track. I don't envy Mocek whatsoever. There's Aleš Danda in the Orlen Benzina car with his teammate Kashka right behind, and Thomas Horror in the big shot car just ahead of them as well, settling into their own rhythms. Right ahead of them is Lubomir Moraes and Miroslav Svoboda, carrying on their argument for 7th position. There is the Puma car, as mentioned, the sole Puma now, with the early departure of Stepanovsky. Lucas Pachada, race leader, is in with Kadlecek right behind. So lots of different ideas on pit stop strategy. Let's see who's going to come out on top.
And, I noticed that actually there is something to fight about between Stefanko and Lucas Pachada. They are both on 4 wins apiece. The reason Stefanko didn't really feature into the championship until the very end was because he ended up missing out on a race. But Stefanko, obviously, very, very quick all season long, and he's going to prove that by retaking the effective lead of the race. Essentially, he gets ahead of Lucas Pachada, and again, his tires are a little bit more up to temperature. Look at the gap that he's put to Potsdata. It's more than 2 seconds between Stefanko and Potsdata, so he is really on a flyer right now. Could be on a shorter stint possibly, but Kashka now, he's been into the pits. He's down into 15th position. By the way, him and his teammate very close together. Kashka on 29 points, Danda on 31. So they're very, very close to each other. Danda has been in 3 more races than Kashka has, though. He's had 3 more opportunities to score points, so he's averaged more points. But still, final race of the season, final opportunity really for Kashka to essentially overhaul his teammate on the points. And this is going to be his final opportunity, and he's not going to like Thomas Horror up ahead of him, especially if he thinks that Thomas Horror is slowing him down. He is on the hards. Pretty much everybody is on the hards at this stage, except for David Pachada, who still has not come into the pits, and Aleš Danda.
Indeed, indeed. So, and also you touched on this earlier about kind of proving yourself for next season. Absolutely so. You will have a number of drivers that are going to be looking to the 2023 season and making themselves, you kind of putting their flag in the air and saying, sign me. Now, we don't know which of our current teams have signed their drivers for next season. We don't learn that until we get to the grid, really, for the opening round of a season. But every driver will want to be, seeing the season out well. Obviously, they've done as best they can leading up to this stage. But everybody will want to be trying to secure a seat of some description for next season, as Peter Hermok gets the inside line on Miroslav Svoboda for 10th position, with Lubin Mimrovic directly ahead. So Peter Hermark, the only car on soft tyres at the moment. He's got to, as the old English phrase goes, he's got to make hay while the sun shines. He's got to get on with it to make those soft tyres work at this stage. He's very much on the contra strategy at this stage.
Oh, he's looking to go around the outside. That's really not an overtaking location. Through the Dunlop curve, into the Degner curves. Again, really not over... Oh, no, he clunks the curb, spins sideways, manages not to get collected by the Puma, who then has to reverse, gets overtaken by 3 cars. Oh, that is so unfortunate for Hermark and for Svoboda as well, because Svoboda was just a passenger in all of that, and it's especially disappointing to see because Hermark has been so incredibly consistent all season long. One of my favorite drivers this season, one of my favorite rookies as well too. Incredibly consistent this season. Finished 10th, 6th, 11th, 10th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 9th, 10th, 9th. He's always in that kind of lower portion of the top 10, or kind of always in the points. I think he only had one finish where he didn't score. Yeah, there was only one race at Donington where he didn't score points. So scored 10 times this season, which that's what I like to see in a rookie. Yeah, it'd be super cool to see a rookie, like Podstana did, come in and just immediately straight on the winning races, all that kind of stuff. But and that's the other thing. Svoboda had a great view of this battle too. But unfortunately, that movie became a still image in his face as he just had to sit there stare. And, wow, I mean, really, he was quick on the reverse though. He grabbed that reverse gear very quickly. Was looking to get moving again as quickly as he could, but cars on either side of him, splitting the Red Sea. He did so. Yeah, really unfortunate for Svoboda. Just that small mistake. For Hermark, and actually Hermark has fallen behind Svoboda in all of that as well, and down into the final points-paying position.
Yeah, by about 5 seconds as well, so that makes me think the Carvago car has had another mistake of some description, because he's now very much on his own. Yeah, you got to feel for Svoboda again. Bad luck, befalling him. He's a rookie that just hasn't had a break. At one point, he was looking at having no seat at all, and he managed to secure the Puma seat when there was lots of shuffling going on in the mid part of the season. So it was great to see that he was still able to continue his participation in this season. As we now look at Lucas Brachada now challenging Stefanko. Is he going to go for it? He had the overspeed but didn't have the space. But still got over 30 minutes of this race to go. So he's not in a hurry to try and make the move stick. But I think Lucas Brachada is a driver that doesn't have to prove how good he is, as he'll be taking the championship with him next time around. What happened to Martin Nedlik of Lenovo Legion coming into 130R? Has he over? Yep. No. Very big exit stage right for the Lenovo Legion car. Just that's the nature of the beast. You're pushing as hard as you can, but as soon as these cars begin to let go, especially at that speed, they are so hard to catch. So that's a big shame for Lenovo Legion and for Martin Nedlik.
Yeah, that's going to be Neil Plough for him, unfortunately, and that's going to be the 3rd time in the IndyCar where he's not scoring any points, unfortunately. The single-seater has really not treated him very well this in this 2022 season. His other finishes in the single-seater portion were 7th, 8th, and 15th. So yeah, never higher than 7th. And one of those was just a single championship point. Look at the closing speed by Lucas Brachada after he comes through 130R. I wonder if he's just running that slightly lower downforce setup compared to Martin Stefanko. Let's watch on board as we get this over-the-shoulder view. And he's not using any sort of push-to-pass. He's getting closer and closer. He's getting to within 0.2, 10th and a half. He's going to be very, very close to making an overtake there without any sort of push-to-pass whatsoever. So I think it's probably marginal, but I do think he's probably running a slightly higher top speed setup compared to Martin Stefanko. It does kind of go back and forth between them. I don't think either driver has necessarily been running low downforce or high downforce quite regularly. But look at that, through the early to middle part of the lap, Stefanko really pulling away 7.5 tenths of a second as they make their way through the Degners. So yeah, he's really got that car hooked up for the S section. And that really seems to be where his setup is paying dividends. Completely misses his apex for turn 11, but that could be quite good for the exit, and that's really what you want. The exit is much more important because you're full throttle all the way through turn 12 down towards Spoon, so it's a very long, flat-out section. And it's only right at the end there where actually Lucas Pichada's higher top speed starts to come into play, and he starts to close in a little bit. So yeah, it really seems that Stefanko quite strong in the early to middle parts of the lap, whereas Pichada, he's just got that slightly better straight line speed, and without the push to pass. Also, I've been noticing, I don't know if you've noticed this, Chris, Kadlecek is closing in on Podstata.
That's going to be an interesting fight when those two are ready to go. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Lucas Pichada does look like he's running lower wings than our race leader is. What's Peter Hermark been up to? Coming. Oh, that's into Degner. That's too deep. Oh, has he caught it before the wall? No, that's not a heavy hit, but it would be enough to have some damage on the car. So that's a shame. He really tried hard to slow that one down as he came through Degner 1, got a little bit too deep, and is only so much space to scrub off any more speed before you go into the second Degner. And the wall was waiting for him, unfortunately. Now Martin Stefanko will be able to reopen that gap between himself and Lucas Pichada. Probably another reason why Martin Stefanko wanted to undercut Lucas Pichada and Podstata, because of the setup difference between his car and those he was fighting, as we now ride on board with Svoboda, trying to make up for lost time following that incident with Peter Hermark earlier on. But yeah, it's going to be very ebb and flow between certainly the top three. But yeah, exactly as you were alluding to, I think Kadlecek is very much ready to put a cat amongst those pigeons. Yeah,
3.5 seconds was the gap when I checked, I think around the time that the pit stops were happening. Between Kadlecek and Podstata, it was 3.5 seconds. And that's now down to 2 seconds. So he's eked out a second and a half on Podstata, and I think he's eked out a second and a half on Stefanko in the process as well, because I think he was 5 seconds back on Stefanko. Speaking of Stefanko, he is coming under attack once again from Lucas Pichada, who does seem to be quite a bit closer this time. Just a couple of car lengths as they come out of the final corner, power onto that start-finish straight down towards turn 1, inside line for Lucas Pichada as he deploys that push to pass. It's going to be an easy overtake for the ERT racing car, and he does indeed retake the lead of the race. With 25 minutes still to go on the clock, Stefanko loses out, but I would be very curious to see how many push to passes they still have remaining, and also how many pit stops they have remaining, because it seems to me that that first pit stop was quite early. So early indications tell me anyway that this is probably going to be a 2-stop race. It wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong about the number of stops in the race this season, though, because it has been wonderfully varied this season in terms of the different strategies that people have used. But yeah, I'm leaning towards a 2-stop based on how quickly people ditch those softs.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that one. I was going to make the very same point, actually, that the pit stop strategies have really caught us out, which has been great to see. Oh, and that's a wonky wheel. That's never idea. That's Adam Pilo that had an argument with something very solid and lost.
Oh.
And yeah, that's that's quite a bit more than a wheel that's damaged on that car. And I suspect that is our third victim of the race. Yeah, he's recovered that one back to the pits. That's one of the Mecha Raw Force Sim cars now out of contention. As we look back at our top three, now Podstata is starting to get a bit of a move on, but Kadlecek is still doing his best to eat into that gap between himself and Lucas Podstata. Does Stefanko have an answer? I think it's going to take a mistake from Lucas Pichada for Martin Stefanko to be able to re-challenge for the lead, because of where Lucas Pichada has had his pace advantage has been the prime overtaking opportunities. So it's going to be difficult for even the mighty Stefanko to be able to overhaul that. But, I mean, anything can happen. We still have plenty of distance to go.
I'm hoping to get a replay of this overtake that just happened. I think Studnicka just overtook Moric for 7th position, and I think he did it into 130R potentially. But first, let's find out exactly what happened to Adam Pilo, who has been one of the most consistent drivers all season long. Another one of my absolute favorites, and he just gets it a little bit wrong through the Dunlop curve, just dips a wheel in the grass, and that's the problem with an older style circuit, these non-Herman Tilke style circuits, because it is just grass right outside. It's not runoff area. You can't just dip the wheel over and be okay. You can kind of do it there at Spoon, for example, but even that, there's quite a bit of elevation change with the curbing, and you don't want to like beat your car on the curbs there. So this circuit is quite punishing. You really have to keep it within the track limits. Otherwise, I mean, you can see how narrow that strip of grass is on the run down towards 130R, and then it's just barrier. You know, it's a meter or two and then barrier. So, yeah, not a very forgiving circuit. Podstata, by the way, is still very close to the back of this battle. Kadlacek has continued to close in. He's now another second closer than the lead battle. Of course, Pachata and Stefanko did swap around, so that sort of stuff is gonna benefit Kadlacek. Sirotech, unfortunately, has kind of slipped back into anonymity. He's about 5 seconds adrift from his teammate down in 5th position, and doesn't seem like he's going to be featuring in the top 4 battle at this stage with 22 minutes still to go. But he is comfortably ahead of David Pachata, who is having possibly an even lonelier race actually in 6th position. So the two of them can enjoy some nice double digits points finish for them to round out their season without too much drama. But up at the front, I have a feeling this trio is about to become a quartet.
Oh, yes, absolutely so. I mean, Kadlacek, this is his 6th race. He took over at the beginning of the... he took the seat over from a Banchik, I believe, at the beginning of the single-seater phase of this season, and only missed the podium once. And even then, it was 4th at Spa. So he's done so well. So I'm really looking forward to how he's going to mix it up with this grip. I mean, he is catching it, as we've been seeing, hand over fist. Again, another English phrase. He's catching very quickly. You can visibly see that in the gap between his car and Podstata's Cavago. But as we know, overtaking anybody is very challenging, especially if you've got more than one car you're trying to challenge. If it's just a duo, you know the kind of punch and counter-punch routine. Never mind, as Podstata has come into the pits. So that's not very long on those hard tyres. That's a bit of a curious one. He's trying to do the undercut that Martin Stefanko made work very well in the first phase. That would be my assumption. That'll be another set of hard tyres, probably to see him to the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is going to be a set of hards that takes him to the end. And I do think potentially here, traffic could play an issue. Yeah, Podstata has come out right behind Hora, Kashka, and Moric, and Studnicka, all very close to one another. So this could end up being very difficult for Podstata. I'm going to assume that he does not have a race engineer. Because if he did, I have a feeling they would have told him to stay out for a couple more laps, try and build a few more seconds to at least get ahead of Hora, I would have imagined, or maybe even Kashka and maybe even Moric and Studnicka, because yeah, this is not going to be ideal for him, and he's got Alice Danda right behind him as well, who is on warmed up tires and everything like that. So I mean, he might be thinking about a go. And then, you know, if Podstata's driving defensively, that's really not going to help him in his quest to try and pick up a second victory, because he has only won a single race this season. It's been all about Stefanko and Lucas Pachata, except for Kadlacek once and Podstata once and Nadlik once. They are the 3 outliers in terms of the race wins. So Stefanko and Pachata at 4 apiece, the other 3 with 1 apiece, and there goes Stefanko into the pits 1 lap later after Podstata. But once again, I think that's going to play into traffic. So I think he might come out behind Hora as well, certainly behind Kashka, I would imagine. We're going to have to find out.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right on that one, but it's almost damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if those hard tyres are worn down to nothing, they're gonna lose more time by staying out. Now, did the undercut work for Podstarter? No, not this time. So Stefanko maintains that position over Podstarter, and traffic wouldn't have influenced that. That's just, there were only 1 lap difference between the two, and Lucas Podstarter wasn't held up by the traffic he was in yet. You know, he hasn't got those tyres up to optimum temperature yet, but of course now is his opportunity to challenge Stefanko, as we're now seeing. This is the difference between tyre temperatures. Flirting with the grass on the outside line of Dunlop. Just about keeps his car on the straight and narrow, but here is not a prime overtaking spot unless he banzais it on the inside of the hairpin. He knows better than... I was about to say he knows better than to do that, and then he goes and does exactly that. My goodness me, can't quite pull alongside, but he knows this is his best opportunity to get past Stefanko before his hard tyres and the ESET car are up to temperature.
Yeah, I saw that line from Stefanko before as well. Again, I don't think he's actually trying to hit the apex at that turn 11 hairpin. I think he's perfectly happy to take that slightly wider line, get that good exit, but he is going to have Podstarter all over the back of him. Push to pass is deployed, moves to the right-hand side. I think he's going to clear him before they even get to 130R. He does indeed. No defense from Stefanko just yet. As he makes his way through 130R, he's going to tuck into that slipstream, and he's going to get a little bit closer under braking. Let's see if he thinks about deploying a bit of push to pass now as they make their way out of the final corner. Kavlicek, Sirotek, Studnicka all into the pits, so a very popular lap. Kashka's into the pits as well, and as is Hora, and here they come down the start-finish straight, and that's going to be Kavlicek coming out just ahead of them, and he is in fact going to jump them. Now he is going to be on those cold tires. We've seen just how powerful that can be, but everyone is on the hard tires. Ignore what the tires look like on the car. That's from the start of the race, but right now everybody's on the hards except for Hora. Actually just switched over to the softs for his final stints, but now it is Kavlicek, Podstarter, and Stefanko in tight formation. Oh, this is going to get interesting. Oh, Podstarter's not waiting at all. He's going for it immediately. He's going to have to go around the outside, and he does it at the first Degner curve. I think Kavlicek let him have that one. I don't think he was interested in fighting that one bit. He said, "You've got a serious set on you. You can go right around the outside if you'd like."
That was a very, very wise decision from Kavlicek. He was well within his rights and well positioned to make that defense, but what he didn't have was tire temperature, and he knew it. He would have probably sent both of them off into the dust on the outside of the Degners and cost them both time and position. So very wise move there from Kavlicek not to defend that position. Race leader Lucas Podstarter is now in. Has he done enough to maintain the race lead? You can't call it at this point. Usually you get an idea of, okay, you've pitted this far ahead of the cars you were fighting with, you know you're going to reappear in roughly the same position. It's been so topsy-turvy, it's impossible to call. We're going to find out at this point. Is Kavlicek going to re-challenge for that position? You bet he is. Drawing side by side, but that's going to force him to the outside line. Turn one, they come together. At that speed, that could have gone horribly wrong. As Podstarter re-challenges for the position, Kavlicek has to take avoiding action. And still challenging Stefanko now. Stefanko bows out of it, coming through the S's. My goodness me. Well, we did say at the top of the show, didn't we, that they never failed to disappoint, and the racing is absolutely frantic. Brilliant stuff.
That reminded me of, what is it, Senna and Mansell that did the famous side-by-side, where it looked like they were almost trying to high-five each other or something. Like they looked like they were trying to get as close as they possibly could there, and unfortunately, they got a little too close for Kavlicek there, and Podstarter maintains that position. But you know, all the while, Lucas Podstarter is laughing to the bank because he's built now in nearly 4 second gap to the rest of that group. So that quartet has become a trio once again as well, soon to be crowned 2022 champion. Really stretches his legs, and he's now built an absolutely massive gap. And whether Moritz pits or not, I think Podstarter is going to retake the lead of this race pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely so. And Alistander's not far behind this particular trio as well. So he could make that one a quartet. Actually, he's just out of shot.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
So that's already becoming a quartet. Moritz is now in for ESET. And look at this. You could see the defensive posture from Podstarter. He didn't just return to the racing line like Stefanko did. But Katlacek didn't have the overspeed to challenge into turn 1. Again, that could be setup difference. Whatever the reasoning is, Alexander has had to pit, unfortunately. That was a shame. I was thinking for a moment, where the hell has he gone? But, he went into the pit. He went into the pits, that's where he went. But these three, God, we knew that Katlacek was going to get involved in this particular battle, and he very much is involved in it now. This is fantastic stuff. What a way to see out a brilliant season with a brilliant race with some brilliant drivers.
I don't know if Katlacek set up his car for the race, and that explains why his qualifying wasn't the best. Again, he started from 5th, Sirotech down from 6th. I sort of expect both of them to be in the top 4 or even top 3 based on results from earlier this season. So I was a little bit surprised to see them down there. And unfortunately for Sirotech, he seems to be just like a 10th per lap too slow to maintain in this battle, because he is just out of shot. There actually are times where you can just see him coming into shot right as the camera turns away, because he's only 5 seconds down the road from this battle. And if you could have just seen him if you were looking at the top of shot there as this trio was going through 130R. So Sirotech definitely, he has the pace to bother these guys, but he needs a little bit of luck to get closer to him. Podstada and Katlacek both deploying push to pass. Podstada going aggressively to the inside. Katlacek, I would say, being a bit more aggressive this race than we have seen from him this season so far. As Svoboda goes around the outside on Alexander, but Alexander sweeps back to the inside line for the Casio triangle, goes later on the brakes, reclaims that 11th place position. That's a heck of a scrap for 11th place, and Alexander deploying a bit of push to pass here, looking to try and put some space between himself and that Puma car, and he wants to try and avoid any more battles like that, because that's really not going to help him if he wants to try and catch up to Hora, get himself into the top 10 in the closing stages of this race. Because if you could believe it, Chris, there's only a little bit more than 11 minutes remaining in this season.
It's always a shame, isn't it? We love coming to Suzuka. With the racing is always brilliant, but we know it's the end of the season, so it's bittersweet in that sense. We've said that season after season, but once again our drivers are putting on a fantastic show. And Svoboda, you can't help but feel what might have been if he wasn't caught up in that incident with Peter Hermark. That really was not his fault. He was not involved in any kind of impact. He could well have been again challenging for a solid top 10 position for the Puma squad. But either way, we cut back now to this trio battling for second position. Podstarter for Carvago, Katlacek for Entropic, and Stefanko for ESET, all doing battle to see who is going to claim the remaining 2 podium positions, because it looks like the top one is very much going in the ERT driver's way. But hopefully I haven't just commentated cursed him. He's got 10 more minutes to hang on to that top spot.
Lucas Pichata has absolutely checked out. 7.6 seconds now is the gap between himself and Podstada. I think it was 5-6 seconds, something like that, not just a few laps ago. So Lucas Pichata really just enjoying that clear air and is able to just set qualifying laps, really. And he's unencumbered and not having to worry about traffic either. That's one of the great parts about this latest season of VGP and the direction it's been headed in. It's been more and more competitive as the years have gone by, and it's reached a point now where here we are with 9 minutes remaining in the race. We haven't had any cautions or anything like that, and the last running car is on the lead lap. I don't think we're going to see any lapped cars or anything like that. And there was a time not so long ago where VGP you would always see at least one car getting lapped, especially if there was no cautions or anything like that. But the field has really tightened up, and this has been the best year of VGP, no doubt about it, as Stefanko gets very close to the back of the diffuser of Kadlecek as they make their way through 130R. Stefanko completely unfazed by the proximity to that Entropic car, though, as they get very close to Podstata as well under braking. Kadlecek much later on the brakes into the Casio triangle, closes up to that Carvago car, but Podstata just that little bit better on the traction out of that low-speed corner. Here comes Stefanko, though. He's going to be in that slipstream. Yeah, I was going to say, he's actually behind that webcam of Kadlecek. He's behind the webcam and behind his car. He's behind him in two different places. Stefanko is lurking, and he wants that podium. He's probably not going to get that 5th win today. It would take something truly incredible, an act of God, I would say, at this point, with 8 minutes to go. But he can still pick up one more podium.
Very, very true indeed. And, well, there we go. There's the push to pass allocations remaining. You were asking for this earlier. Wow, Stefanko with 8 still in the tank. Wow. My goodness me. He's saving for a kind of a last, last couple of laps, absolute push. In which case, but whether everyone else knows everyone else has pushed to pass, you would assume not. How the hell's he done that? That just, again, goes to show how good Stefanko is. He's a previous champion. He was hustling hard for this season's championship, were it not for other commitments that sadly saw him miss out on Monza. He didn't score at Spa, unfortunately. Were it not for those incidents, he could well have taken the championship challenge to the final round. Again, Stefanko getting very, very close to Kadlecek. He just seems to be able to brake so late into the Casio triangle, but it does look like it compromises him on the exit of that chicane and over to the right-hand side. All three of these cars very, very aggressive. Now Stefanko is starting to use his push-to-pass stock, and that's going to put him into third, or is it? Yes, it does. Oh, my goodness me, that was close.
Oh man, that was a lovely, lovely overtake around the outside at turn 1, and great awareness from Kadlecek as well, who's been a wonder to watch all season long. Really, really good awareness, great respect being shown, which we love to see, especially from a rookie driver. Especially someone who's up at the front and battling, especially because he came mid-season as well too. So he never really featured in the championship fight either, because he didn't even he never did a single race in the GT3 cars. And for all we know, he might be terrible in the GT3s. Something tells me he probably isn't, but for all we know, he's a bit of a single-seater specialist. But we don't know for sure. What we do know though is that Stefanko has moved himself up into a podium position. He still has, I believe it is now 6 push to pass remaining, or is it 5 push to pass remaining? It took 2 to get past Kadlecek though. One thing definitely clear, Stefanko has a little bit more downforce than the cars around him. It wasn't just Lucas Pachada that had less downforce than him. It seems to be almost everybody that has less downforce than Martin Stefanko. So the way that he makes overtakes, he has to use 2 push to passes. He uses 1 coming out of Spoon to get close, and then he's on your bumper through 130R in the Casio triangle, and then he uses the second one to get past you on the start-finish straight. And that's the method that he used to get past Kadlecek, and I imagine that's what he's going to have to do to get past Podstata as well. But he's going to try and get as close as he can without using any push to pass. In the background, though, by the way, that's Sirotech coming under attack from David Pachada. Yeah, that was great timing with the camera work. As David Pachada swoops around the outside, he does the same thing that Kadlecek did on the previous lap, goes around the outside at turn 1 and turn 2, and moves himself up into 5th position ahead of Sirotech, who is completely out of push to pass. In typical Sirotech fashion, he completely used all of his push to pass very early on in the race. He's been sitting on 0 for a while now, so I think David Pachada still had a little bit left, and he's on softs. I've just spotted that. Oh, and Lucas Pachada's on softs. That's why he's lapping so much faster than Podstata and Stefanko, who have started to close back in though. Those softs have started to wear down, it would seem. So Podstata's gotten that gap down now to closer to 7 seconds, so getting that back down. But this trio has expanded a little bit. Stefanko hasn't closed in massively on Podstata since making that overtake, and Kadlecek has kind of dropped off the back of Stefanko, at least temporarily. So I think we have another kind of calm before the storm. We're in the eye of the storm now. We just saw some craziness, and there's more still to come.
Yep, absolutely agree there. As we keep an eye on this trio. Yeah, Kadlecek may well have just kind of burned the best out of his tyres, trying to challenge pod starters. Stefanko now just deploying what he's got left. And there we go, we can now see the push to pass amount, still 6 to the advantage of Stefanko. You can see Postarter is, well that's robust to defending. I think the argument is trying to break the toe. It's quite clear that Stefanko wasn't in an attacking position at that point. Unlike this particular duo, Sirotek has a look on the inside line, can't get it done just yet into the first part of turn 1. That is going to carry on into the S's. Who's going to win out? It is ERT just that fends off the advances of Entropic, but that battle is going to carry on until the flag, and we are going to enjoy every turn and every twist in that tail that we will be enjoying. There's now about a second between what is now a duo between Podstarter, Stefanko and Kadlecek. The Entropic car is really falling away from me, which is a bit of a shame, but Podstarter cannot relax whatsoever. If he wants second, he's going to have to fight hard to keep it.
Yeah, he hasn't been using any more push to pass. Sirotek and David Pichata still running close to one another. In fact, Sirotek's done it. Yeah, he swapped around once again. He's managed to get back through despite David Pichata having the softer compound of tires. Those may just be losing the best of their life. Here's Stefanko using some push to pass. That may be to defend from Kadlecek, who was using the push to pass, but I'm not so sure. Kadlecek was about a second adrift of that, so I think that was just coincidence. And there again, you can see the push to passes, 1 apiece for Pichata and Podstata, 5 for Stefanko, make that 4 for Stefanko, 2 for Kadlecek, 0 for Sirotek and David Pichata. 4 remaining for Kashka. And I think Kashka, is not far off of Moritz, so a battle for 8th could be on the cards right at the very, very end here as well. With the lap length, I think we're in store for 1 more lap after this one. So I think we're going to be complete, with Lucas Pichata as far up the road as he is. We're going to be looking to complete this. Oh, and Podstata used his final push to pass. He is out.
Well, is it advantage Stefanko though? Because as we've said time and again, overtaking is difficult on this circuit, and that ESET car does seem to have a bit more downforce at its disposal, which is great in the early part of the lap, but at the prime points to overtake, that, just as I say, that big lock up there for a pod starter, that's going to allow Stefanko alongside, push to pass, but he's going to force into the outside line. Can he overcome the Camargo car? Switches to the inside line for 200. Oh my goodness me. That's forced Stefanko very, very wide. That's undone all the progress he's made. He's only got a lap left to try and challenge, and now Kadlecek is back on his case.
And Kadlecek deploys one of his remaining push to passes as well. Stefanko uses one defensively as they make their way down to 130R. He is just about going to stay ahead, but you don't lose too much through there. He's going to have to stay defensive as Kadlecek switches to the left-hand side. Again, he's unbelievably late on the brakes, but Stefanko is mega through the second part of that chicane, keeps hold of that position, deploys yet another push to pass as Kadlecek fires away his final push to pass of the race as they start the final lap heading down towards turn 1. Kadlecek wants that inside line, but Stefanko will not let him have it. He hangs on to that position. He hangs on to that inside line. He's got 1 push to pass remaining. Does he have enough life left in his tires to close up to the back of Podstata? It's about a second between them. I'm going to say probably not. I don't think he's going to have enough left in the tank, on the tires, in himself, just to make that happen. But I think he's just going to have to settle for that third. A very hard-fought third, though. Kadlecek pushing him all the way. Podstata pushing him as well, too. And Stefanko fighting very, very hard, tooth and nail, for that third place finish. And I think he's just going to have to be satisfied with that one as they head through turn 10, turn 11 for the final time. A bit of a lockup there for Podstata. Could be a bit of a beacon of light to Stefanko, saying maybe as he deploys his push-to-pass. Interesting, he lets it fire coming out of that hairpin on the run down towards Spoon. He is going to close up pretty significantly through that section. He's going to get within a couple of car lengths as they make their way through the double left-hander of Spoon. And he should close up as well. Again, remember, he definitely has slightly higher downforce compared to the cars around him, but now is when he's going to start to lose out a little bit as Podstata, with that slightly slippier car, is going to pull ahead, and Stefanko with the slightly grippier car through 130R claws a little bit back, but it is going to be this man here, Lucas Pachada, who wins for the 5th time in 2022. He's already the champion, but he's a winner once again. Stefanko and Podstata making contact once again. Did Podstata let him through? Did that allow Kadlicek to go through? I think he lost fuel. I think Podstata lost out on fuel. Stefanko got caught off guard. Kadlicek sneaks through and takes 2nd place right at the very end. Zerotech makes it 2 Entropic cars in the top 5. Oh man, David Pachada just losing out a couple of seconds in the end. Those softs couldn't hold on. Studnicka filling in once again this season, does a great job from 7th position, 7 seconds ahead of Lubomir Moritz, who finishes ahead of Kashka. Hora finishes inside the top 10. Danda did get close in the end, but not quite close enough to challenge for that top 10 position. Svoboda is going to have to just make do with 12th. He probably could have been in the top 10. Mocek into 13th, and Hermach, by virtue of 3 retirements, is going to pick up a couple of championship points for his troubles after what was probably his worst race of the season, but what has otherwise been an incredible season. So I hope Hermach doesn't dwindle on this race, because he had so many great races this season, so I hope he doesn't dwell on this one.
So this is what happened to Lucas Podstata. Oh, and a bit of a clout there from Stefanko. Yeah, that looks like, yeah, there's nothing going on. He's out of fuel. You're absolutely right there, Justin. My goodness me, what a way to finish the season, running out of fuel out of the last corner. Can you believe it? So with the final time in 2022, it is Lucas Pachada up top, Kadlicek stealing away 2nd right at the death of the race, Stefanko rounding out the podium, Podstata 4th, Zerotech 5, David Pachada in 6th, Studnicka in 7th, Lubomir Moritz 8th, Kashka 9, and Thomas Hora rounding out the top 10. The fastest lap, surprised is no one, belonging to ERT's Lucas Pachada, who will be crowned the 2022 champion. Danda 11th, Svoboda 12th, Mojek 13th, Peter Hermach 14th, Adam Pilo and Martin Nadlik and Aldous Stepanovsky not seeing the flag. What a way to see out an incredible season. I'm sure you'll all agree.
Yeah, the best year of VGP we have ever had, and in the standings it is going to be a 60-point gap between Pachada and Stefanko. Stefanko, of course, missing a race earlier on in the season, having other commitments, so that's unfortunate, but still very, very close in the championship. I can't remember a championship where we saw so much battling from the start all the way through the end. And in fact, I think it's Vakulchik is the only driver that we had come through who didn't score any points, and even he finished 16th when he Vakulchik, the only driver who didn't score, and even he was 1 position away. He was only a fill-in for a single race, and he finished in 16th position, but still, I think the best season of VGP that we have ever had. In the end, it was only 41 points between ERT and Entropic. ESET a little bit further back, though. It was 77 points down to them. And then Carvago getting so close to breaking 200 points. I'm sure they would have loved to pick up 2 extra points if they could have. But for Chris Buxton and myself, Justin Sutton, we want to say a huge thank you to everybody who's tuned in and watched all throughout this season. We really do appreciate it. We want to say a big thanks, of course, to everybody behind the scenes, all of the directors, cameras. But the biggest thank you, of course, goes to the drivers who put on an incredible show. Thank you so much for a great 2022. Bye-bye.
going through Blanchimont. Brave, brave move.
Shoots it up the inside, contact behind. Around the outside at turn 1. He is not hanging around that. That completes the move. It is the return of Martin Stefanko in the E-Set team. Lucas Pachata wins another race. Oh no! Oh! But they were both smiling that whole time, and I tell you, that put a huge smile on my face as well, too. Pachata trying desperately to hang on in there, but I think Pachata is just about ahead, but he's gonna leave the space, curiously enough.
Well played, Michael Shambera. Take a bow. Hundredth of a second.
I cannot believe that. Just gonna be made like by a nose or so. Kadlacek, and he's gonna pick up his maiden victory in VGP. Lucas Pachata, who crosses the line in 4th position. He is gonna be the 2022 VGP champion.